My fiancée told her friends, just 18 more months until the wedding and I'm set for life, while laughing about me being a trust fund baby. So I'm planning to use every resource my family's wealth provides to expose her systematic deception in the most public way possible. The evidence I've gathered makes this look like a coordinated extraction operation rather than a relationship. I'm Graham, 27M, and I need outside perspective because I'm questioning everything I thought I knew about the woman I was planning to marry. Some background. My family owns Lot Construction, one of the largest commercial building companies in North Carolina. We're talking major government contracts, luxury developments, the whole deal. I'm not going to pretend we're not wealthy. We are, significantly so. But I learned early that money makes people act differently around you, so I've spent most of my adult life trying to live as normally as possible. For the past 3 years, I worked as a restaurant manager at Meridian, a mid-tier place in Charlotte's business district. Not because I needed the job, but because I wanted to understand what regular life felt like and meet people who didn't know about my family's situation. I drove a used Honda, lived in a normal apartment, split checks on dates. I wanted to find someone who liked me for me, not for what my family could provide. That's where I met Delaney, 25F. She was a waitress there when I started as assistant manager. Beautiful, funny, seemed down to earth and genuine. We started dating 2 years ago, and I thought I'd found exactly what I was looking for, someone who fell for Graham the person, not Graham the heir. I revealed my family's wealth gradually. First just that my family did well in construction. Then that we owned the company. Finally, about 8 months ago, I brought her to the family estate and she met my father Trent, who built this company from nothing and is pretty protective about people's motivations. She handled it perfectly. Said she was overwhelmed but honored to be part of our family. My father, who's usually suspicious of anyone I date, actually seemed to like her. He even offered her a marketing coordinator position at the company, which she accepted enthusiastically. We got engaged 3 months ago. I proposed at the restaurant where we met, thinking it was romantic to come full circle. She cried, called her parents, posted it all over social media. Everything seemed perfect, until last Saturday night. We were at my parents' house for dinner, and afterward Delaney went out to the garden to take a call from her friends Cassidy and Riley. I was in the kitchen helping my father clean up when I heard voices through the window. The garden is right below the kitchen and sound carries clearly. What I heard made my world collapse. Cassidy was saying, "Girl, you are living the absolute dream right now. I cannot believe you pulled this off." Delaney laughed, not her usual sweet laugh, but something sharper, and said, "I know, right? Honestly, it was easier than I thought it would be. The whole humble waitress thing really worked on him." "So what's the timeline looking like?" Riley asked. "When do you get access to the real money?" "Just 18 more months until the wedding and then I'm set for life," Delaney said. "His dad already trusts me enough to give me access to company financials for the marketing job. I'm learning exactly how much we're talking about here, and it's even more than I thought," Cassidy laughed. "You're so smart for playing the long game. Most girls would have tried to rush it." "The key," Delaney said, "is making him think he's getting authentic love while I position myself for maximum extraction. He's so paranoid about gold diggers that he actually prefers that I work and contribute. He has no idea I'm studying every aspect of their business operations." "What about the prenup situation?" Riley asked. "That's the beautiful part," Delaney said. "He's so convinced I'm not after his money that he probably won't even insist on one. But even if he does, I'll have been married to him long enough and integrated into the business enough that I'll still walk away with millions." They kept talking, but I couldn't hear over the sound of my heart pounding. My father noticed me standing frozen by the window and asked what was wrong. I just told him I needed some air and walked outside. When I came back in, Delaney was sitting in the living room looking at wedding venues on her tablet. She smiled and said, "Baby, I was just thinking we should book the venue soon. I found this amazing place that would be perfect for our special day." I've spent the past week replaying every conversation, every moment, every interaction we've had over 2 years. How much of it was real? How much was strategy? The worst part is that I genuinely love this woman. Or at least, I love who I thought she was. The idea that every sweet moment, every time she said she loved me, every conversation about our future together was just part of some calculated plan to extract money from my family is devastating. My childhood friend Cole, whose family runs in similar circles, has been telling me for months that something felt off about Delaney. He said she asks too many questions about business operations and seems more interested in our lifestyle than in me personally. I defended her every time, told him he was being paranoid because of his own bad experiences with women who were after his trust fund. Now I'm wondering if he was right all along. I haven't confronted her yet because I'm not sure how to approach this. Do I tell her what I overheard and give her a chance to explain? Do I investigate further to see how deep this goes? Do I involve my father and our family lawyers? Part of me wants to believe there's some explanation, that I misunderstood what I heard. But another part of me is thinking about all the times she's steered conversations toward family business, all the times she's been curious about financial details, all the times she's mentioned how much she loves our life together. I feel like an idiot for not seeing this sooner. I thought I was being so careful, so smart about protecting myself from exactly this situation. But apparently, the best gold diggers are the ones who make you think they're not gold diggers at all. What would you do in this situation? How do I find out if the woman I love actually exists, or if she's just a character designed to separate me from my family's money? Update 1. First, let me address some questions from the comments. Yes, this is real. No, I can't provide more specific details about our business for obvious privacy reasons. And to whoever asked if I'm sure about what I heard, I replayed that conversation in my head 1,000 times. There's no misunderstanding what 18 more months until I'm set for life means. So here's what I did. My family's lawyer Blake suggested a subtle test to see how Delaney would react to potential changes in our financial arrangement. We planned it for Tuesday night when my friend Cole came over for dinner. The setup was simple. Cole would casually mention that his family's lawyers were requiring prenups for all marriages now due to some recent changes in state law, and I would act like this was the first I'd heard of it but seemed to think it made sense for us too. Cole played his part perfectly. About halfway through dinner, he started talking about his cousin's recent engagement and mentioned offhandedly that all the family lawyers are recommending ironclad prenups now, even for couples who have been together for years. I acted surprised and asked what he meant. Cole explained that recent court cases had made families more protective of business assets, and that prenups were becoming standard practice for anyone with significant inherited wealth. Makes sense, I said, looking at Delaney. I guess we should probably look into that too, babe. Blake mentioned something similar last week. The change in Delaney's demeanor was instant and dramatic. Her face went completely pale. She set down her fork and stared at me. A prenup? We've never talked about that. I know, but Cole's right, I said, staying calm. It's not about not trusting you, it's just smart business practice for family companies. That's when she completely lost it. Smart business practice, she said, her voice getting louder. Are you kidding me right now? We're supposed to be building a life together and you want a plan for our divorce before we're even married. Cole and I exchanged glances. This wasn't the reaction of someone who genuinely loved me and didn't care about money. This is exactly what I was afraid of, she continued, standing up from the table. You've never really trusted me, have you? You've been looking for an excuse to protect your precious money from the waitress you picked up. The way she said waitress, with such bitterness and resentment, was like watching a mask slip off. Delaney, calm down, I said. It's just paperwork. If you're not after money, then it shouldn't matter. Shouldn't matter, she was almost shouting now. It matters because it shows you think I'm some kind of gold digger. It matters because you're essentially telling me you don't believe I love you, Cole tried to de-escalate. Delaney, it really is becoming standard practice. It's not personal. She whirled on him. Stay out of this, Cole. This is between me and my fiancé, who apparently thinks I'm trying to steal from his family. Then she turned back to me with this look I'd never seen before, cold, calculating, angry. If you want a prenup, Graham, then maybe we need to reconsider this whole thing. Maybe I was wrong about who you really are. And then she stormed out. just grabbed her purse and left without another word. Qley and I sat there in stunned silence for a minute before he said, "Dude, that was not the reaction of someone who loves you for you." The next morning, Delaney called crying and apologizing. She said she'd overreacted because the prenup suggestion triggered her abandonment issues and made her feel like I didn't trust her. She wanted to talk through the prenup idea and find a compromise that works for both of us. But here's the thing: she never once said she didn't care about the money. She never said she'd sign whatever I wanted because our love was more important than financial arrangements. Her entire focus was on negotiating the terms and finding loopholes. When I told Blake about her reaction, he said something that hit me hard. "Graham, women who love you for you don't panic about prenups. They might have questions or concerns, but they don't threaten to end the relationship over protecting your family's assets." I'm meeting with Blake again tomorrow to discuss next steps. He suggested having a private investigator look into Delaney's background and recent activities. Apparently, there are ways to check if someone's been researching family wealth, business valuations, divorce proceedings, that kind of thing. Part of me feels sick about investigating the woman I thought I'd spend my life with, but part of me is angry that I apparently need to. The wedding planning meeting is Thursday. I'm going to go through with it normally while Blake's guy does his research. If Delaney really is running some kind of long-term extraction plan, I want to know exactly what I'm dealing with before I confront her. Update 2. The private investigator Blake recommended is a woman named Janet who specializes in what she calls relationship fraud cases. Apparently, this kind of systematic deception is more common than I thought, especially in wealthy circles. Janet's initial findings were disturbing enough, but what she discovered about Delaney's online presence completely shattered any remaining doubt I had about her intentions. First, the background check revealed some interesting discrepancies. Delaney told me she worked as a waitress to pay for community college classes and help support her single mother. The truth: she dropped out of college after one semester. Her mother is married to a successful accountant, and she's been working restaurant jobs not out of necessity, but because they provide access to high-value targets. Janet found employment records showing she'd worked at 3 different upscale restaurants over the past 4 years, always in areas frequented by wealthy professionals. But the real bombshell came when Janet found Delaney's secondary social media accounts. Turns out she has 2 Instagram accounts. The one I knew about, Del Pierce 25, shows the modest, down-to-earth persona she presented to me. Casual photos, inspirational quotes about hard work and genuine love, pictures of us together with captions about being blessed to find my soulmate. The second account, Deluxe Delaney, tells a completely different story. This account is private with only about 40 followers, but Janet was able to access it through one of her contacts. The photos show Delaney living a lifestyle I never saw. Designer clothes, expensive restaurants, luxury vacations I never took with her. Captions about investing in the right connections and playing the long game pays off. Most disturbing were the photos from our own dates and family events, but with completely different captions than what she posted on her main account. A picture of us at my parents' house was captioned, "Scouting the estate." A photo from our engagement dinner had the caption, "Phase 1 complete." But Janet's most significant discovery was a private group chat called Operation Trust Fund with Cassidy, Riley, and 2 other women I'd never heard of. I'm not going to reproduce the entire conversation history, but here are some highlights that made me physically sick. From 6 months ago, update, got the company job, full access to financial records now. The number is even bigger than we calculated. From 4 months ago, Dad definitely trusts me. Mentioned putting me in the will once we're family. This is going even better than planned. From 2 months ago, found out about offshore accounts. We're talking generational wealth here, not just business money. And from last week, after our dinner with Qley, prenup situation developing. Need to activate backup plan soon. Accidental pregnancy might be only option if legal extraction becomes impossible. That last message made my hands shake when I read it. The group had been strategizing about our relationship for over a year. They'd researched my family's net worth, our business holdings, even looked into my father's other relationships to see how family money gets distributed. Delaney had been feeding them insider information from her job at our company, including details about contracts and valuations that she had no business accessing. Most chilling was a message from 3 weeks ago where she detailed her timeline: wedding in June, pregnancy announcement by August, first child by next May, and financial security established by our second anniversary. She'd mapped out 2 years of my life like a business plan. Janet also found evidence that this wasn't Delaney's first attempt at this kind of scheme. She'd had relationships with 2 other wealthy men over the past 3 years. One ended when he discovered she was selling information about his tech startup to competitors, and another ended when his family's private investigator caught her copying financial documents. Both men had signed NDAs and settled quietly to avoid public embarrassment. When I asked Janet how common this kind of systematic deception is, she said it's becoming an epidemic in wealthy circles, especially with social media making it easier to research targets and coordinate strategies. The days of obvious gold diggers are over, she said. Now they're sophisticated, patient, and organized. They study their targets for months before making contact, they build convincing personas, and they have support networks helping them maintain the deception. The wedding planning meeting is tomorrow. I'm going to go through with it normally while Janet finishes documenting everything. But I'm also planning something Delaney won't expect. Our company's annual client appreciation event is Friday night. It's a big deal. All our major clients, city officials, business leaders. Delaney is supposed to give a presentation about our new marketing initiatives. I'm thinking that might be the perfect venue to give everyone a presentation about the kind of marketing Delaney's really been doing for our company. Blake is helping me prepare what he calls evidence packages for the legal consequences. Turns out corporate espionage and fraud are serious crimes, especially when they involve government contracts and confidential business information. I never wanted to destroy someone's life, but I also can't let her do this to the next guy. And I definitely can't let her use my family's company as her personal ATM while planning to trap me with a pregnancy. Sometimes the best revenge is just showing people exactly who someone really is. Update coming after Friday's event. This is about to get very public very quickly. Final update: the company event on Friday night went exactly as planned, except somehow better than I could have imagined. Let me set the scene. Our annual client appreciation dinner is held at the Charlotte Convention Center, usually around 200 people including our biggest clients, city council members, other business leaders, and all our employees. It's the kind of event where reputations are made and broken in our industry. Delaney had been preparing her marketing presentation for weeks, talking about how excited she was to really contribute to the family business and show everyone what she could do. The irony wasn't lost on me. Blake and Janet had prepared everything perfectly. We had screenshots of the group chat, copies of the documents she'd accessed inappropriately, records of her previous schemes with other men, and even security footage of her using company computers for personal research about our family's wealth. I introduced Delaney's presentation like normal, talked about how proud I was to have her as part of our team. She looked radiant and confident as she took the stage to talk about building authentic relationships with our clients. She got about 3 minutes into her presentation before I walked back on stage. Before Delaney continues, I said, I'd like to share a different kind of presentation about authentic relationships. The confusion on her face was immediate and obvious. She started to say something, but I'd already switched to my laptop, and the first screenshot appeared on the projection screen. It was the group chat message about Operation Trust Fund. You could hear people in the audience starting to murmur as they read the text. Delaney went completely white and started backing away from the podium. For those who can't see clearly, I said, my voice carrying across the silent room, this is a message from my fiancée to her friends, describing our relationship as phase 1 complete of her plan to extract money from my family. I clicked to the next slide. Her secondary Instagram account showing her real lifestyle and the captions about investing in the right connections. This is the woman who told me she was struggling financially while working as a waitress, while she was actually living a luxury lifestyle funded by previous targets. Delaney tried to speak, but no sound came out. She was frozen on stage as I methodically went through every piece of evidence Janet had found. The offshore account research, the pregnancy timeline, the corporate espionage, the previous victims who'd been forced to settle quietly. But the most important thing you need to know, I said, looking directly at her, is that this isn't just personal fraud. This is corporate espionage. Delaney has been using her position at our company to access confidential financial information, client data, and government contract details that she then shared with her accomplices. That's when Blake stood up and announced that law enforcement was already involved, and that anyone who'd worked with Delaney on accessing confidential information should contact legal counsel immediately. The room erupted. Delaney finally found her voice and started screaming that I was lying and destroying her reputation, but security was already escorting her out. Several of our clients approached my father to express their concern about information security, and at least 2 major business leaders mentioned that they'd been approached by women matching Delaney's MO in recent months. The aftermath has been swift and decisive. Delaney was terminated immediately and escorted from the building by security. Blake filed criminal charges for corporate espionage, fraud, and identity theft. The police investigation revealed that she'd been selling our client information to competitors, which explains how some rival companies had been underbidding us on projects recently. Most satisfying was discovering that her group chat accomplices included employees at other companies who'd been feeding information to their network. The investigation has expanded to include at least 6 other businesses and a dozen women involved in what law enforcement is calling an organized relationship fraud ring. Delaney's attempts to control the narrative on social media backfired spectacularly. She posted some story about being humiliated by a controlling man who couldn't handle a strong woman, but Janet had already prepared responses with evidence. The screenshots started circulating on Charlotte's social media, and by Monday morning everyone in our business circles knew exactly what had happened. 3 other men have contacted Blake's office saying they recognize Delaney and suspect they were also targets. One of them is pursuing additional criminal charges. As for me personally, I'm doing better than I expected. Yes, it hurts to realize someone I loved never existed. But there's also incredible relief in knowing that my instincts were right and that I caught this before she could do more damage. My father has been surprisingly supportive. He admitted that he had concerns about Delaney but didn't want to interfere with my relationship. "Son," he said, "sometimes the most expensive education comes from the cheapest people." Qley has been helping me process everything, and honestly, having a friend who understood the wealth-related trust issues has been invaluable. We're planning to take a trip to Europe next month. I need some time away from Charlotte to clear my head. Several people have asked about dating in the future. Right now, I'm focusing on rebuilding my ability to trust my own judgment. I'm also working with Janet to develop better strategies for protecting myself while still being open to genuine relationships. The one positive outcome is that our company is now helping other businesses develop protocols for identifying and preventing relationship fraud. Apparently, this is becoming a significant problem in wealthy communities, and our experience is helping others protect themselves. Delaney wanted a trust fund baby's money. Instead, she got a trust fund baby's resources turned against her. Sometimes the long game works both ways.